Hi, I'm Charlene Rhinehart, and I want to welcome you to part two of the Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit. If you missed part one, you can go back through our video catalog and watch it, leave comments, and connect with the experts. But right now, I'm so excited to share what we have coming up for part two. We're kicking off part two with our keynote from Kelley Reed, who's Miss Black USA 2023. Then Dr. Suzanne Gokel will talk about how self care or how skincare is self care. Then we will go into our personal stories about how to make self action come to life in your life. We have three individuals who are going to talk about their journey and strategies to self care and success. Are you ready? I am. I want to remind you to subscribe to Wealthy Women Daily on YouTube if you haven't done so already. And I want to thank our sponsor, Solutions Journalism Network, for sponsoring our reporting on solutions on the South Side of Chicago. Thank you so much for doing that. Make sure you connect with the speakers on Instagram. Connect with us on Wealthy Women Daily. Connect with me at Charlene Rhinehart. And then don't forget to visit our Wealthy Women Daily Substack. That's wealthywomendaily.substack.com if you want to participate in any of our events, join our challenges, and just be a part of the mission. All right. So grab your water. You know how important water is. Grab what you need, breathe, and get ready for part two. Welcome back to the Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit. I'm so excited about our next guest. We have Kelley Reed, who is the reigning Miss Black USA 2023. Now, she's more than a pretty face, she embodies the qualities of a servant leader, drawing inspiration from her Christian faith to utilize her talents for the betterment of others. Her motto is service is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. That is so powerful. She obtained a Master of Social Work degree from Virginia Commonwealth University and subsequently dedicated multiple years to working as a therapist, supporting children and families in navigating life's trials. Now, there is so much more that I can tell you about Kelley Reed, but I'm going to bring her up here to tell you more about herself. So, Kelley Reed, come on down.
Yay! Hello, everyone. It's such an honor and privilege to be here today. Thank you, Charlene, for inviting me. I think we have a good topic to discuss. But before I begin, I want to applaud each of you for participating. This says to me that you are interested in growth, in bettering yourself, and I am too. So good for you. Congratulations. And I hope that these sessions have been inspiring and empowering for you and that you're getting something out of them. So, as we begin talking about our topic, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye a young girl. Imagine that this young girl was so skinny that her mother struggled to find pants that fit her and struggled to find belts that fit her. Sometimes she would have to use suspenders to hold her pants up because she was just that skinny. Now imagine this same young girl as she grows a little bit older, she starts to struggle terribly with acne. There were very few days that this young girl had clear skin, and she struggled to find inner beauty because she was so insecure about the way her skin looked. Now, let's continue to imagine this young girl. She rarely wore anything name brand. rarely wore anything fashionable for that matter. And she struggled also to fit in with her peers on account of how she dressed. She also was very sheltered and struggled to find her place in her peer group. The same young girl, as she went throughout puberty and adolescence, she didn't quite develop the way her peers did, and she wasn't as shapely per se as the other girls in her age group. And to top it all off, this young girl had an inconsistent father. Her father is in and out of her life, and he's often distracted by things outside of the home and rarely makes her feel important. So as you're imagining this young girl, I'm sure it's not hard for you to picture that this young girl is not happy. This young girl also struggles tremendously with her self-confidence, with her self-worth, with her self-esteem. She feels like she is not important. Now, you may have caught on by now and realized that this young girl that you just created in your head was me. That was my story. And all throughout my childhood, my adolescence, my teenage years, even into adulthood, I struggled with my self-confidence. And I'll take a moment to show you young Kelley just so we can giggle about how cute I was. So this is me. This is me also. Forehead is still large. And this is me in third grade rocking one of those not so fashionable outfits that I mentioned earlier. But I struggled with feeling beautiful. And I would say that research shows 70 to 80% of women also struggle with their self-confidence. Maybe even more. Maybe more women are not comfortable enough to admit that that is a struggle for them. Why do we need to talk about this? Well, lacking self-confidence affects every area of your life. I'll tell you how it affected me. I wasted so much time due to my lack of confidence. I wasted time second guessing myself, questioning myself, overanalyzing decisions. And all of that time could have been spent doing things that I actually enjoyed. It also affected me because I missed out on so many opportunities. I mean, the list is long, y'all, about how many opportunities I let pass me by because I did not believe in myself. I also engaged in relationships that I should not have engaged in because my self-worth was not where it should have been. And as a result of all of that, I struggled with depression. I dealt with self-loathing, self-hatred, and I felt a lot of regret on account of all of the missed opportunities, and that resulted in me feeling depressed and alone. So, as I stated earlier, 70 to 80% of women are dealing with this. Maybe you watching are dealing with this as well and dealing with some of those things that I just spoke about. That's why this is something we need to speak on. Let's talk about the benefits of having high self-esteem. You're happier. You have fewer instances of depression and anxiety. You have a greater sense of enjoyment in your life, more energy, more motivation, less stress. I mean, the list goes on. The benefits are endless. Overall, you just have a better mental health, better relationships, and better quality of life. So a higher self-esteem, more confidence is something that is absolutely worth investing in. So I'd like to take a moment now, since I used to be not so confident and now here I am, Ms. Black USA, I'd like to share with you all some quick tips on how I went from a wallflower to a beauty queen. And to make it easier to remember, because I want this to be something that you can remember as you walk away from these sessions, I've created this acronym, QUEEN. And each letter of the acronym is an actionable step that you can take to build your self-confidence today. So let's get into it. Q. Q stands for quit negative self-talk. I just need to let that sit for a moment. Quit negative self-talk. I have a confession, and I hope you'll keep it in confidence. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I, for some reason, have always set these extremely high standards for myself. And that is a recipe for disaster because I am a human and not a robot. And so there's no way that I'm going to be able to be perfect all the time, heck, any of the time, right? And so what would happen is that whenever I didn't reach this impossible standard of perfection, I would start to say really negative things to myself. And how in the world can you feel good about yourself and have high self-esteem if you're constantly saying negative things in your head? So the strategy that I used two actually. One was simply thought stopping. If a negative thought came to my head, you're not enough. You're not good enough. In that moment, I would shift my attention to something else, something positive or something neutral. Maybe it's a song. Maybe I turn on the television. Maybe I call a friend, but I'm just shifting from that negative thought that I have to a more positive one. So that helped. But sometimes you need to go to battle. You need to correct these negative thoughts. And so once you've mastered the thought stopping, you need to take it a step further of actually challenging these thoughts. So when that thought of, you're not good enough, you never do anything right. When those thoughts came up, I would find evidence to the contrary and remind myself, wait, I do this well. I had success with this particular circumstance. I'm important. I matter. There are people that love me and think I'm doing well. And so with this and with time, I would continue to combat those negative ideas, those negative narratives that I would play in my head with the real evidence that contradicted that lie. And over time, I was able to rewire my brain and correct that narrative that had been built. So here's the action step that I want for you to do today. Ask yourself, what is one negative statement you say to yourself about yourself? Find 1 to 3 pieces of evidence to contradict that negative thought. And I want you to do this every single time this thought comes up. And you'll notice over time that thought's going to stop coming up for you. So let's get into U. U stands for until I felt it, I faked it. I know we've all heard fake it till you make it, but there is some true science behind this. So some researchers, and I'll just say this briefly, some researchers actually did a study and they had 2 groups of individuals come in. They tested their saliva at the beginning of the study to test how much testosterone and how much cortisol, which is the stress hormone, how much of that was in their saliva. So they got their baseline. And then after, they had one group stand in power poses. So like, hands on the hips, arms folded, just powerful poses, confident poses. Then they had the other group stand in low power, more submissive poses. So, like this, arms folded up, just very guarded, very submissive. And they retested their saliva. you would not believe that the individuals who stood in the power poses actually had an increase in testosterone and a decrease in cortisol after 2 minutes of standing in those poses. So, conversely, the other group had a decrease in testosterone and an increase in cortisol. So, what does that tell you? When we feel emotions, we have certain ways that our bodies react. If we're happy, we smile. That's the easy one. But that research confirms that you can actually trick your mind into feeling emotions by what you do with your body. So if you smile, you can trick your mind into feeling happier. That's crazy. And so I actually used that theory and corrected my posture. I held my shoulders back, even if I didn't feel confident. I held my head up to make my chin parallel to the ground. I sustained eye contact with people when I was speaking with them, even if I felt terrified. And over time, that confidence that I was cultivating by my posture, it started to take. And I really started to feel more confident in myself. So here's my action step for you. Even in this moment, take notice of your posture. What is your body doing? And what small tweaks can you make right in this moment to convey a more confident you? Maybe it's rolling your shoulders back. Maybe it's unclenching your jaw. Maybe it's dropping your shoulders. Maybe it's putting out your chest a little more. What can you change to convey a more confident you, and continue to do that? And with practice, just like it took for me, it can take for you. So let's get into E, the first E of Queen. I embraced self-compassion. So I stated earlier that I'm a recovering perfectionist. And not only were the things that I said to myself negative, they were kind of mean. They were kind of harsh. And anytime I made a mistake, the insults that would play in my head were just firing off left and right, left and right. And so I was introduced by a therapist to this concept of self compassion, which simply means to be kind to yourself and treat yourself the way you would a friend or a child. If your child, for those of you who are mothers, or your best friend came to you and said, I effed up, I made a mistake, whatever, I'm struggling in this area, how would you approach them? Would you tell them about all the mistakes that they've made up until this point? Or would you be compassionate towards them? And I'm going to guess that 99.9% of you would be compassionate towards your loved one when they came to you about something like that. And so that's what we need to turn inward to ourselves, because no one can grow in harsh conditions, right? Imagine if someone was always berating you. Would you be more likely to grow in that environment, or would you be more likely to grow in an environment where you're nurtured and loved and supported? And I think that answer is very clear for most of us. So here's the action step for this. Ask yourself, how would I treat a friend who was struggling? Now, how would I treat myself when I'm struggling? Are there differences between the two? Are the words different? Is the tone different? If so, why? And what changes can you make to be more compassionate towards yourself today? All right, next E, y'all. I ended the comparisons. We live in a society that always wants to pit women against each other, wants to compare women and measure us up against one another. And social media absolutely does not help this, right? We're always seeing someone's highlight reel, and it's a natural urge to want to compare our highlights to, our background or our real life scenes to their highlights. So I want to implore you today to stop the comparisons. You have strengths on your own. You are beautiful on your own. And I want you to shift your thinking when it comes to comparisons. This is what I want you to do. First of all, stop comparing. We all have gifts, we all have weaknesses. I want you to know your strengths and be sure of your strengths. Shift your focus from comparing to celebrating. If there's someone in your life that you find yourself always comparing yourself to, maybe you need to celebrate that person's accomplishments. Maybe you need to collaborate with them. Or maybe there's even an opportunity to be coached by them. Do they have a business that is thriving and you seek for your business to be on the same level? Maybe you could reach out to them and get some insight. That would shift your relationship with that person and with the desire to compare. And lastly, I neglected the opinions of others. My Lord. Now, one thing that I can be sure about in life is that people will always have something to say, right? Whether you're skinny, heavier, whether you're dark, light, whether you dress where you're covered up or you dress scantily clad, someone's going to have a problem with what you do. And so you just need to divorce yourself from those opinions of others. I love this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. She says, "Do what you feel to be right in your heart because you'll be criticized either way." And isn't that so true? So my action step for you today is to take time to be clear about your values and goals. Because if you are, and a decision that you've made for yourself is in alignment with those goals, shut out the noise. Ignore the opinions of others because those opinions can tank your self-esteem. So ask yourself, is there something that I'm not doing because of others' opinions? If it is, and if that thing is in alignment with my values and goals, I need to make steps towards accomplishing that thing today. So just as a wrap up, Queen, quit negative self-talk. You, until I felt it, I faked it. I embraced self-compassion. I ended the comparisons and I neglected the opinions of others. My final thoughts, y'all, are that you can be more confident. Confidence is not static where this is the confidence that you're born with and you can't change it. Absolutely not. You can be, with work, more confident. I'm a living witness. 2, small changes over time lead to big results. So if you're consistent and you keep working at it, you can be more confident and more sure of yourself. And finally, be kind to yourself. You're doing the best you can. And every day with work and consistency, you're going to get better. So follow me on Instagram for more inspiration and empowerment. And if something in this talk resonated with you, reach out to me and let me know so I can get some feedback about what works well and what folks are resonating with. Thank you so much.
Wow, wow, wow. Kelley, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. I felt like you were talking to me. Did anybody else feel like that? Comment below. Let us know how you feel. Give Kelley some love. That was amazing. I saw myself checking my posture, right? Am I sitting right? Am I giving off the right vibe? Am I giving off a confident vibe, right? What am I putting out
Yes.
there into the world? Oh, that was so powerful. The Queen method. Let's not forget the Queen method. Q, quit negative self talk. Before you think it, stop it.
Yes.
Quit it. E, I'm sorry, you. Until I felt it, I faked it.
That's right.
Oh, that is powerful, Kelley. E, embrace self compassion. If I won't treat my friend like that, why would I treat myself like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this next E, this got to me.
Woo! Come on
It's
now.
the comparisons.
Yes.
social media is on 24/7. We're getting the notifications. We're
Right.
seeing people's highlight reels. And you're saying, stop the
Cut it.
comparisons. Oh,
Yes.
that's a tough one. And then, Ian, let's not forget that. Neglect the opinion of others.
Yes.
Wow. That's a tough one. Someone asked me before, how do you deal with pageants? Because you will be judged.
Mhm.
But how do you deal with life? Because you will be judged.
Hello. Right. That is the reality of just existing. People are going to have judgments, perceptions about you, and you just have to learn to ignore it. How do I feel? Do I have peace about what I'm doing at the end of the day? If so, check. Done. There's so much freedom in that.
Yes, you have to be confident in the woman who God has created you to be. Because
Yes,
if you are confident
absolutely.
in that, if you stand on that, guess what? Nothing else even matters.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So there's a lot that we can dive into here because you shared so many different nuggets. If anyone has any questions, type those questions in the chat. Make sure you follow Kelley Reed on Instagram at official Miss Black USA. Kelley, what should we do right now? You gave us 5 things, right? And everybody has their own thing that they can do. But what would you say is one small step that we can make towards being more confident?
Hmm. I would just say think about your strengths. Think about what makes you, uniquely beautiful, and just marinate on those things. You know, I used to have a problem with my eyebrows and my neck, but then when I spent some time really reflecting on those things, I'm like, wow, I'm unique and these things make me so beautiful. So I would say that that is something that someone could do right in this moment. Just one thing. What is that one thing about you that you want to focus on that you find to be beautiful?
Yes. I always tell people get the journal. Your journal is your best friend.
Oh,
It's like your
yes.
supporting documentation that can support the person you are and where you want to go. If you forget that, if you start to have negative thoughts, remember all those notes that you wrote down in your journal, right? To remind
Yeah.
you of your strengths, of who you are, who you were created to be, right? We
Mm,
talked about journaling a lot during this summit. You do not have a journal, get one and use one of those pages to jot down your strengths. That is really a game changer because so
mhm.
often, Kelley, we focus on what we're not good at instead of what we are good at, instead of what
Right?
we're designed to be. Right. And I realize that causes us to not be confident, right? That causes us to compare. And
Yeah.
I am just like you, Kelley. I suffered from the perfectionist syndrome. Everything had to be right. I did not press the go button until it was perfect. But that can really mess up our self-confidence and
Mhm.
take away from the gifts that we have. Like we have these gifts for a reason. Our gifts are present for somebody else to unwrap. But if we are stuck in
Mm,
our
I love that.
if we're stuck in our heads, how do we allow that gift to flow into somebody else's hands?
Mhm. Yeah, that was my story too about feeling stuck, feeling like because it can't be perfect, I can't move forward with it. And I think pageantry even showed me that just stepping out on faith, stepping out on the belief that I could do it, I'm able to prove myself that that is absolutely true. I may not have the answers, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm smart enough, I'm capable enough to figure it out as I go along. And that only works to build your confidence at the end of the day.
So, what gave you the confidence to complete for Miss Black USA? Was this your first pageant?
It was my first pageant. Yes.
Wow. So there's somebody in the audience. They're like, okay, I'm not Kelley Reed. I can't speak like Kelley Reed, but I want to do a pageant. How do I build that confidence in pageantry? Is it the same way you would build your confidence in doing anything else?
Definitely. I mean, any new arena that you want to enter, you need to get some training. You need to tap into some folks who are experts in that particular arena. And so for me, my coaches were a huge resource that allowed me to build my confidence to set the stage on fire and be Ms. Black USA. So I would say educating yourself and reaching out for support from people who know that particular area that you're trying to enter into.
Yes, learn what you need to know. Yes, and build your dream team.
Yes,
There
I love
is somebody who's going to support you. I like to say, I need to know who will be my board of directors, my personal board of directors who are going to guide me on this journey.
it.
You've shared so many great tips. Is there one thing that you would like to leave us with today?
I really believe that we need to be kinder to ourselves. And so I would just encourage people, as I said before, to find your strengths and just be kind. Be kind to yourself because life is hard and we are doing the best that we can.
Yes, be kind to yourself. I want to thank you, Kelley, for
You're
coming on to share your insights on the Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit. Remember to follow Kelley Reed on Instagram at official Ms. Black USA. Thank you so much, Kelley.
Thank you so much for having me, Charlene. This has been great.
Now it's time to focus on skincare. And we have a skincare expert here who's going to tell us how to get the best skin of our lives this year. Meet Dr. Suzanne Gokel, DO, physician and founder of Skin Sutra Skincare Products. So if you have no idea who to turn to when it comes to having the best skincare, which is important when it comes to self-care, I'm so excited to bring up Dr. Suzanne. How are you?
Hi, Charlene. Thanks for having me. I
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course. So I am Dr. Suzanne Gokel. I am a family and aesthetic medicine doctor. I've been practicing for over 20 years in all sorts of settings and with people of all different backgrounds. I'm also recently certified as a life and business coach, helping my clients kind of in their transitions into launching new businesses or learning to just live life by design. And then I am the founder and CEO of Skin Sutra by Dr. Suzanne. And that is my skincare line that I launched during the pandemic. It's got a focus on anti-aging, acne care, preventative care. A lot of people will often ask me, why did I develop a skincare line? And it's kind of twofold. I actually have the benefit of growing up in the skincare industry, and I'm part of a larger family business in skincare manufacturing. My mom is actually a chemist and a master formulator. She actually created BioFreeze, which is a topical pain relieving gel and is well known. We have our lab and manufacturing warehouse here in California, so everything is made in the USA. And we really believe in a no-nonsense approach to skincare. So we try hard to source professional grade materials only, raw materials. We maximize natural and clean ingredients and minimize preservatives and fragrances, all of that. As a doctor, I have over the years seen how much a person's skin appearance really can impact their confidence and how they show up in the world. And this is really kind of my other driving force. When people come in to see me for Botox or laser treatments, it's really not to be frivolous or fancy. They're really kind of looking to do something for themselves, right? Give themselves a little boost to go take a new job or enter a meeting or attend a party. And it's really what I call skinfidence.
I love that skinfidence. So, what steps can we take right now to be more confident in the skin we're in?
Absolutely. Well, our skin is the largest organ in our body, and people forget that. And it is exposed every day to environmental exposures. All our habits are affected to our skin, our hormones, and yet we're so busy. And that is why I developed my skincare line, because it's really about simplifying the routine. I don't carry a gazillion products in my line because you don't need them. What you need is a more simplified life. And so we bring together all the key elements into fewer products so that they're easier to use and you see results. It just takes a few minutes a day. People have this idea, oh, I don't have time for a skincare routine, or that's just one more thing. Really, it isn't. It's literally, I have timed it. It's 3 to 5 minutes in your day. And when you start to engage in your skincare, which is really your self-care, it's going to become this habit that you form that actually starts to really motivate you. It's just like when you exercise and you lose a couple pounds and all of a sudden you make better choices with your diet and when you go out to eat. It's the same thing. The more self-care you engage in, the better you feel about yourself and you see results, and you will start doing that. One of the things, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was wondering, should our skincare routine be based on the type of skin we have? Some people have acne prone skin or some people have wrinkles. Should we do something differently based on our skin type or concern?
Well, absolutely. I mean, everyone has certain needs for their skincare, and I really designed a skincare line that's to go across all skincare types and skincare needs. We don't need, again, multiple steps. We don't need to be doing 10, 12 products at night. What you really need is kind of like a 1, 2, 3 step process, because that's going to get you using it. It doesn't matter if you have 20 things if they're just sitting in your bathroom drawer, right? So what we want to do is do what makes sense to you. Because you know yourself, right? If you don't like to eat certain vegetables, you're not going to eat them even if they're sitting on your plate. So the same thing with your skincare. See what your needs are and then choose based on that. I do free skincare consults for all my clients if they need them, and I'm happy to do that anytime and set up that kind of an appointment. But remember, when you just start to do a few things, you're going to start realizing how much you are doing for yourself. When you start engaging in your self-care, it's really nourishing. And you prioritize yourself, you start to feel in control, and that's very empowering. We have so much coming at us in this world that when you start to just make choices to take care of yourself and your body, that is something that's in your control. And it's going to be the thing that gets you out of bed to go wash your face or to apply a serum or to apply a moisturizer and take care of yourself. It's being kind to yourself, it's being kind to your body, and it's really going towards kind of increasing your longevity of life because you're taking care of your health overall. There are a lot of different products that we can use, and I think it's kind of deciding what's the most important thing for you to treat and for you to feel.
So, are there any signs that I should look at on a day-to-day basis? Sometimes I notice my skin may be drier during certain seasons, and I may have to change up my skincare routine. But how do I know if it may be a bigger concern, and I need to consult with a professional to help me develop my skincare routine?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different levels to it. I mean, you can always go see a dermatologist or your family physician to kind of help you manage your skin. But a lot of times you actually don't even need to go to that level. It's a matter of seeing maybe an esthetician or a facialist. And then it's just making your own informed decisions. There's so much available. I mean, that can make it actually a little confusing. But if you are on social media or if you're in the department stores or if you go online, there are a lot of different products available. And so you can really start to look under what is happening to me right now. Is my skin really dry? Am I seeing sun damage and sunspots after the summer? Am I going into winter and now my skin is peeling because of the weather changes? Am I aging? And I'm starting to notice those changes. Our hormones play such a big role, particularly like women after they've had a baby and in that time period when their hormones are out of whack and, their whole body feels out of whack. And then the skin comes into play. But there are ways to manage that. Same thing when women are going through menopause, that they can do skincare that is a little more geared towards menopausal skin changes. And it's, again, the same for young teens and women in their 20s because they're dealing more with acne, but while they are dealing with acne and there's treatments for that in preventative care, which we have in our product line, women in their 30s and 40s are often also dealing with acne type lesions. So we highly recommend things like vitamin C serum, which is going to help fight free radicals and acts as an antioxidant therapy to help brighten your skin and make it look more youthful. And I love, like, you know, applying it at night, like after a day of all this environmental exposure, wash my face with a cleanser. Today's cleansers are so good because they really get in there. They are cleansing, they are healing, they help to decrease inflammation and redness because of ingredients like aloe vera and ceramides, witch hazel. And then you follow that with like a vitamin C serum. Like, again, I said, it's an antioxidant treatment. It's going to help to remove that environmental damage. And then even just a moisturizer. Moisturizer is what you want to look for. And it's not just for your face, it's your full body. Do you want to replenish those fluid losses we've had in the day just off our skin? And so ingredients like niacinamides, ceramides are going to help keep the moisture in your body. And what draws the moisture also is hyaluronic acid. So people ask a lot about that. And hyaluronic acid helps draw water into your skin. And the other ingredients, like the ceramides, help kind of seal it in and keep it there. So those are the kind of things you want to be thinking about. And that is, at some level, universal. Like, we're all dealing with a lot of these same things, despite our ethnic backgrounds, our skin types, our age groups, all of that, men or women.
You definitely are the expert. I need to find out all of those to-dos. So can you walk me through what I should be doing from daytime to nighttime? Because I'm like, am I supposed to do the exact same thing day and night? And if I wear makeup, is there an extra step that I need to take to make sure that my skin is at its best at night before I go to sleep?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that. And, you know, for everyone, it's slightly different. You kind of have to know yourself. Like, when is it the best time of day for you? For my teenagers, a lot of times it's right after school or right after dinner. But if you ask them to do it at 10 o'clock at night, they're not going to do it. So same for us adults. We're in the same place. Like, what makes sense to you? A lot of programs or regimens will say, only use it in the morning or only use it at night. But I do where I'm going to be the most diligent about using it. So I always recommend doing your skincare routine at night. You're also a little more relaxed. You're not trying to rush out the door. And so what we're really looking for like you, again, cleansing, that's like the easiest. If you only want to do one step, just cleanse your skin, wash it, remove that environmental damage, help decrease the effects of inflammation and redness that appear. And then if you want to go to the next level, then you're working with your different serums, your anti-aging serums, whether it's with vitamin C or hyaluronic acid. And then you want to moisturize. And really, I have timed it, like I said, and it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. I think the most important thing, though, to do, again, every skin type, is really, as you set out for the day in the mornings, you really want to apply a sunscreen, at least an SPF 30 or higher. And the reason is because that is the one single best thing you can do in one step to protect yourself from skin cancer and photo damage, which causes aging. And people ask a lot about different sunscreens, but you know, we have chemical sunscreens and mineral sunscreens. It runs the gamut, and that, you know, something I can always talk to you on a one-to-one, but you want to do the best that you can to protect your skin, but you don't have to go extreme on it. So an SPF 30 is completely sufficient for daily use on your face.
I love that you mentioned sunscreen. And for anybody who has a health savings account, you can use funds in your HSA to purchase SPF at a certain level, which is good because you get tax advantages when you use your health savings account. So it's like you're using tax-free dollars to get your sunscreen and all of your health benefits, which I love. Thank you for sharing all of those insights. Dr. Suzanne, is there anything else that you think we should know before we end the year or start the new year to begin our best self?
Well, remember, skincare is self-care and it's preventative care. So just taking those few minutes a day for your skin, for your whole body, is really going towards your overall health. And it's about feeling good. Looking good is a great byproduct of that, but it's just about engaging in your self-care and feeling more grounded, more motivated in all things in your life. It's truly beauty from the inside out.
I think everybody is ready to practice skincare as self-care. I'm so glad that you were able to join us for the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. Thank you, Dr. Suzanne.
Absolutely, Charlene. I appreciate your time here. And if you're interested in Skin Sutra by Dr. Suzanne, my website is skinsutra.com, and I am on Instagram and TikTok. So would love to see you there.
Thank you so much. Now, let's talk about self-care in action. What does self-care look like in your daily life? If you can type in the comments right now what self-care currently looks like to you, do that and let us know. Let us know. For me, self-care is taking a brisk walk in the morning when it's not snowing outside. At least 3 to 5 times a week, that's a win for me. And if I can incorporate yoga into my weekly schedule, that's even better. But I want to talk about another piece of the self care equation that is often overlooked, and that's personal finances. Over 30% of adults in the US are dealing with financial stress. And financial stress can lead to all types of conditions. It can cause physical health problems, relationship problems, and mental health challenges such as anxiety and depression. So, what I want to do right now is give you the basics to make sure that you are thinking about your finances, right? Not just for today, but for tomorrow. Because self care for me is making sure that my future self, yes, I'm talking about the 80-year-old, 90-year-old, or 100-year-old version of me, is able to live a quality of life and that finances won't get in the way of me getting the health care and resources I need, right? Because health can be one of your greatest assets, but if you lose it, it can be one of your biggest expenses. So you need to start taking steps today. So for me, I am diligent about tracking my finances, right? You want to know where you are. And I know it's sometimes scary if you have debt or you're not trying to look at a certain financial situation. You just want to stay away from it, ignore it. I completely understand. But awareness is key. And the more steps that you can take right now, the better off you will be in the long run. So, are you ready to go over the basics of building that foundation? And if you subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily channel, we will go into more details and meet with experts about how to build each section of the pie so that when you get older and you have fixed income, you still have a cushion and a safety net of income coming in through dividends or another source of income. Okay, school time. So let's start with our basic foundation for finances. I like to talk about the emergency fund because you never know when an emergency may arise. Some people don't like to call it the emergency fund, call it whatever you want, but make sure you have money set aside so that if something unexpected comes up, you can take care of those expenses as needed. So, emergency fund. And you may be asking, how much do I need in my emergency fund? Well, what's your comfortable number? How much do you need in order to sleep well at night, right? Now, typically, experts will recommend 3 to 6 months. And if your income stream is more unpredictable or the future of your job is uncertain, you may want to aim for a year of money tucked away in emergency fund. So talk to a professional if you need to figure out that right number for you because it's going to be based off of your situation, your lifestyle, your family, your health. There are so many factors that go into determining a good emergency fund number for you. So you can do the work yourself, identify those things that are essentials in your life, separate those wants versus those needs, and then create that emergency fund that matches the type of comfort that you want to have in your life. Then we can go on to our savings account. A savings account will give you interest, so your money can earn a bit more money in that account. And you use that savings for different buckets. Some people have sub savings accounts for specific goals that they have. So, whatever your goals are, you can match your savings fund with that. So, your savings fund, and you can look at high interest rate savings funds or traditional banks. You want to do your research because you want to know what a high yield savings account really means versus a low yielding one. You want to research the banks that you are putting your money at. There's research that goes into it. So make sure you subscribe to Wealthy Women Daily so that we can go more into that. Then you may want to look at CDs, certificate of deposits, or money market funds because they typically earn a higher rate of return. A money market fund, you'll typically get a bigger rate, a higher rate on that. And then a CD is locked for a specific period of time. So you won't be able to touch it for, let's say, 10 months, a year, whatever that time frame, that time period that you have, you won't be able to touch it. And if you do, you'll get penalized. So that's a good way to tuck away some future income and earn interest on that. Then you want to think about all the options that you have at work. Do you have an employer-sponsored retirement plan, like a 401k, 403b, or any other plan like that? Your employer may contribute dollars to those accounts if you contribute money to those accounts. So you want to find out the specifics of your employer plan and tuck away money in that so that you can set aside funds for retirement. But you can also have an individual retirement account. You don't need your employer to start an IRA. They come in two main forms, a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. And again, that's something we can go deeper into on the channel. So make sure you subscribe to Wealthy Women Daily so that we can go deeper into that. You can also have your own investment accounts. A traditional brokerage account can allow you to invest. There's no limits on the amount of money that you can contribute to the account, and you have more flexibility as to what investments you add to your portfolio. So if you want individual stocks, you can put it in your individual brokerage account. Then let's talk about those health accounts. You've probably heard me talk about the health savings account, but there's also the flexible spending account, FSA. So HSAs and FSAs both come with tax benefits, but people love health savings accounts because the money rolls over every year and you can invest the funds. And if you don't need to use the funds for qualified medical expenses right now, you can continue to invest it and roll it over every year. And then when you're in retirement, you have this big nest egg that you can use to pay for healthcare expenses or other expenses after a certain age without being penalized. Your health savings accounts can help you pay for a lot of everyday expenses. So look into those accounts. You also have to have certain insurance plans in order to sign up for an HSA. You need a high deductible health plan in order to get an HSA. What that means is your monthly premiums, the monthly amount you pay for your insurance every month, is lower. But when you go to the doctor, you'll have to pay all the money up to your deductible. So if you have a $3,000 deductible, you have to be ready to shell out $3,000 before your insurance company kicks in. So you'll need some type of savings on hand if you have a high deductible health plan. And then you want to think about your strategy in all of these different accounts. Are you getting dividends? What a dividends is an extra stream of income that publicly traded companies give you for investing in them, right? So you can look into different companies on the stock market and see which ones are paying dividends, and you can add them to your portfolio or get an advisor who can help you do that. And you don't have to invest in individual stocks. You can get exchange traded funds, and there are other options for you. but that's your foundation. I want you to take away those basic things and accounts to help you build your financial foundation. If you have never heard of any of those accounts, type in the chat. If you have any questions or interested in more videos about any of those accounts, type in the chat. So that is our quick financial wealth building overview, because it starts with that foundation of knowing what options are available to you. But let's dive into more self care. We have two people who are about to share personal stories of what self care looks like for them. And I want you to be able to use their stories. Maybe you get inspired to incorporate some of their self care strategies into your everyday life. But I'm so excited to start off our self care personal story with Mikell Reed Carroll. Mikell Reed Carroll is an international pageant coach, and she's been in pageantry for over 20 years. She came back on the pageant scene in her 40s after having two kids. When I heard that, I was like, whoa, you just had two kids and you're competing in pageants? Amazing. How do you mentally, physically, emotionally prepare to compete on stage or do anything that you haven't done in a while, right? And I think Mikell's self care strategies and the way she thinks about her goals have helped her to pursue those goals that she has. So I'm so excited to bring up Mikell Reed Carroll. Take it away.
Hi, my name's Mikell Reed Carroll. I am a wife, having been married for about 13 and a half years. And I've been a mom for about 9 years. I have two children, a son Daniel, who's 9, and a daughter Francesca, who's 5. I'm also an attorney, world traveler. I own my own business called Carroll Crown Consulting, which is a pageant consulting firm, as well as competing in pageants and modeling myself. So I have a lot of different things that I do. And as you can imagine, as a busy wife and mom, you really have to find ways to take care of yourself and to sort of balance it all, which can be nearly impossible on some days. But some of the things that I like to do to really care for myself, I actually learned about 7 years ago while my husband was gone for a year. He was working in Afghanistan for 1 year. And I was there with a 1 year old by myself in my own little apartment, which was great in many ways, but of course, as you can imagine, also very difficult. So it was a few months into this, taking care of my son on my own, that I really realized how important self care was, especially if you're caregiving for other people, whether it be that you're a spouse or you're caring for children, or you're just, helping to care for another member of your family. So for me, I realized that I really needed to find time to carve out in my schedule just for me, because otherwise I was there with my son 24 hours a day, just me, nobody else really to help me. I did have some family nearby, but not really a lot of time on a regular basis just to myself. I mean, I couldn't even go to the store by myself. I always was taking my son. So I found that at that time, what I would do is at least once a month, I would take one day where my mom would come over and stay in my apartment with me and take care of my son. And I would just take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours that day that were just mine, and I would go do something for myself. Sometimes I was booking a spa day. Doesn't have to be anything that fancy. Sometimes I was just going grocery shopping and going for a walk and going out and doing things on my own. So one of my tips is to definitely take some time for yourself. And for me, like I said, I could only do it about once a month at that point. Now I try to do it at least once a week. And usually right now, since I'm not currently working, I am doing it while my kids are at school. And it's just doing something that you enjoy. It can be reading a book, it can be going for a walk, it can be taking yourself out to lunch, those types of things, but something that you enjoy and ideally that brings you joy. It could even be taking a nap. And some days you just know that you need a nap. So that's definitely something that I recommend as a parent, but I also feel like there are things that you need to do when you're a spouse to take care of yourself and your marriage. I think, especially when you've been married for a long time, it's really important for self care and for care of your marriage to have date nights on a semi regular basis, as much as you can, whether it's once a week or even just once a month. Try to really go out and have a date night where it's just you and your spouse and you're doing something new and fun, trying a new place, going to see a movie, going out bowling, that type of thing, where you're just really enjoying yourself and your time together and remembering that you're a couple. I think that that's really important. And occasionally, whenever we can, which isn't as often now that we're living in an area where we don't have family near us, but when we were overseas and we had someone that helped us with our children, sometimes we would take little weekend getaways together. Sometimes it was just one night, sometimes it was for a couple of days where we go on a little trip, just us without the kids, which I can't recommend this highly enough. It's so good for your relationship. It's good to sort of reset yourself as well, mentally, and really then get back into that role of being a parent. And I think that when you do these things to rekindle and remember your relationship, as well as doing things that you enjoy, I think ultimately for me, I find it makes me a much more effective and better mom and wife and parent. So those are a couple things, and some other things that I think are important again in a marriage are or a close relationship with someone are to take time to yourself. So as much as we can, for instance, last week I went to Chicago on a solo trip for 2 nights and no husband, no children. It was absolutely wonderful. You get that time to sort of reconnect to yourself, just have time to think, do things that you want to do, those types of things. I feel it's a good way to reconnect with yourself and remember what makes you you. And then when you come back, I find that I'm a better partner and also a better parent because my husband and my kids have had time to appreciate me being away and all the things I normally do. And when I'm not there, they actually appreciate those things more because they remember, oh yeah, when mom's here, she does this, this, and this. And so I come back, and it's great for me too, because I come back and I get to see my husband's appreciation for me, and I get to see my children's appreciation for me. And on a daily basis, I'm sure many wives and moms can relate to this. You don't necessarily always feel that appreciation for everything that you do. And it's similar for my husband. For instance, right now, my husband is on a solo trip with one of his best friends in New York City, and he's having a wonderful time, and I'm staying here with the kids. And we like to try to do those things for each other because we know that it's important for us to have time to ourselves or sometimes just solo time with friends. For me, it would be girl time, maybe with one of my girlfriends, or sometimes it's just solo time with just my family, like my sisters and my mom, and those types of trips where we can really sort of again reconnect with ourselves. And then I feel like we always come back a better spouse and parent. I think one of the best sort of pieces of advice that I have is literally what you hear when you get on the airplane and you sit down and they say, if the cabin loses pressure, you might end up having an oxygen mask come down. And please, before you help others with their oxygen mask, put your own oxygen mask on first. And for me, I think I learned that again when I was alone on my own with my son. And I realized sometimes how frustrating it was when I had all of that time, just me, just him, no time to myself. And I realized I really needed that oxygen mask so that then I could help him. So I think it's really important to do things that are going to really, again, give you that oxygen or what you really need to thrive before you can then give it to other people. I think a lot of times we spend so much time caring as spouses and parents, really caring and doing so much for other people. We can take things for granted for ourselves. And sometimes that means we have bad health outcomes as a result. Sometimes that means we're just stressed out and impatient because we're so, just giving and not getting anything or taking time for ourselves. So I do feel that ultimately, when you do take that time for yourself, you're actually going to be a better partner and parent for those around you, for your children, for your spouse. And they will ultimately appreciate it and see that, oh, when mommy takes time and she goes out and does something on her own, she actually comes back and she's a lot happier. And then she has, less more patience with us, and she's more likely to be really happy and then want to do all the things that we want to do. Whereas I find that if I haven't had time to do something for myself, and I'm just feeling like I'm sort of hanging on by a thread, that is when I tend to lose patience and maybe yell or do something I otherwise, wouldn't want to do. But it's just that, I've had then that time for myself, which again sort of pours into that cup or gives you the oxygen that you need so that you can give back to others and then be really just a happier, more giving partner, more giving parent. You have more patience, you're less irritable. So, all of these things I think really can work to help us in our busy day to day lives and balance things more so that we ourselves can take some time and really spend that on ourselves. And I don't think that it's selfish. I remember one time quite a few years ago, I had met someone, another mom, and they said, once you become a mom, you know, me time shouldn't exist because you have children. And once you have children, you need to give everything you have to them. And I just thought to myself, I don't think that that's true. I think you really need to have me time. Of course, not all the time. You need to, take care of your children and take care of your family, but at the same time, you do need to recognize that you also need some love. And if you're not getting it from anyone else, then you need to be giving that to yourself and doing things that really help to fill you up and bring you joy and make you happy. So for me, these are the types of things that I like to do. Again, it doesn't need to be expensive. You don't need to be going on a trip. You don't need to be going to a spa. You could literally just take a walk down to a park, sit, you could meditate, take a nap, just go shopping on your own. Sometimes that feels amazing, going grocery shopping without anyone else there. And, having the kids say, I want this, I want that, having the spouse say, don't buy this, don't buy that, that type of thing, where you're really just doing things sort of on your own. And I think it can also help to build up your own sense of independence, as well as making you just feel a little bit more relaxed, not knowing that you're also caring for other people at the same time. So those are some of my tips for self care as a wife and mom. Of course, you don't have to be a wife, you could just be spouse, a partner to somebody, and really making sure that you're caring for yourself so that ultimately you can be your best you. So you can then give back to your partner or your children. Thank you so much for having me.
It is time to breathe. So I want you to take 15 seconds to just breathe and enjoy the silence. That's it. I just wanted you to give yourself a chance to breathe. We are so busy all the time on the go, and we don't take those small seconds to breathe because that can make a big difference. And our next speaker is going to show us and tell us the power of rest. We have Christella Ilunga coming on stage. Now, Christella is the current title holder for Miss Global Democratic Republic of Congo. She is a registered behavior technician and she has a passion for mental health and women's empowerment. She's going to touch on her breakthrough because I'm sure many of you have had experiences within the last 3 years that have changed you. But Christella is going to go into her breakthrough and how it helped her develop a positive relationship with rest. I love it. Hi, Christella. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Can you tell us more about what you do and why you're passionate about mental health and women's empowerment?
So, I am a registered behavior technician. I've been certified in the field for 3 years now, but I've been working in the behavioral health field for 7 years. This field is very demanding in so many aspects, and it has many times left me feeling drained. The lack of energy, the lack of motivation, just the lack of desire to continue on and move forward brought me to a place of depression and also some suicidal thoughts. And I had to do a lot of breaking down the social stigma that comes with resting. As a woman, we are always seen as kind of mechanical. People who produce, and we do so many things. We're capable of so much, and we can hold so many roles at so many times. Outside of work, I do pageantry, modeling. I was in ministry. I have various hobbies, volunteering. I found myself in so many different little social groups and also balancing friends and family. It just becomes a lot and it's so demanding of us. And a lot of the times, when we do try to take a break or break away, we are often scolded in little ways and like microaggressions are given towards like you're not working hard enough or maybe there are more things that you can do, especially when it comes to the pageantry world. A lot of times when we don't perform the way that we hope to perform or other people hope that we'll perform in a pageant, we are kind of disgraced in a sense, and we're given a lot of reprimands, which is like verbally told that this is why you didn't do well and this is why you need to work hard. And we have this negative relationship with rest because we believe that producing our best requires that we work extremely hard and we constantly work nonstop. Now, the problem with working nonstop is that we forget that we're human beings and not robots. We are not mechanical. We don't get to sit down and charge and just become a full battery and like start operating again. That's not how human beings function. I know a lot of us can relate to this. How many times have you sat down or laid down and tried to rest, and no matter what you did, it's like your mind wouldn't stop moving? It's like you keep thinking about your to-do list, what you could do, what you could be doing, what you'd rather be doing right now, but your body is so tired and your mind is so tired that you just can't seem to do anything but sit there. A lot of the times we fail to realize that our rest is not just physical, but it's mental. Our minds cannot find rest. And one of the ways that our mind finds rest is when it is completely satisfied. And we think that goals can satisfy us. And a lot of the times they can't. How many times have you met a goal and immediately you're ready to go on to the next goal without really taking a breath or a break? How many times are you doing things that fulfill you, that just make you smile, that just make you think, you know what? Like what I produced is enough. How many times do you feel like you are enough or you've done enough? That is what rest is. Rest is knowing when you've had enough. You know that it's time to prioritize self care when you feel like you're not doing enough, or you could be doing more, or you're constantly moving and moving and moving, but yet you still feel unfulfilled. No matter how many goals you've met, you still feel unfulfilled. And you feel like, you know what, maybe I need to do more. But the answer is not doing more, it's actually taking a step back and realizing that like you need to refill yourself and recharge yourself. And I learned this the hard way. um, I kept working and working and working and piling things on and putting things on my to-do list, but I had this like negative relationship with rest because people would always tell me I'm not doing enough, or when I would rest, I would be reprimanded like, you're sitting there in your room, you're sitting around, you're laying around, you're not doing anything. Like, yes, my body was physically tired, but I wasn't sleeping because I wasn't fulfilled completely as a human being, because I wasn't doing the things that just made me happy. Our goals are not always the things that completely fulfill us. Those are our dreams and our aspirations, and sometimes even our hobbies. Um, it wasn't until I found myself in a mental institute, not for like having any crazy, like psychotic issues, which could happen, and that's definitely okay. I'm not speaking against it, but it was really because my mind was not functioning properly because I was in a constant state of work, 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 and I couldn't stop until I had that breakdown. I went in, I checked myself in, and the entire time we were there, I had to sit there and do nothing, and I still felt tired mentally and emotionally. And that's when I realized that the fatigue was not a physical, but it was a mental tired. I didn't feel fulfilled as a human being, and so many people in there could relate. All the people who were there came from different backgrounds. They were regularly functioning. There wasn't anything severely wrong with us other than the fact that we didn't know when or how to take a break. And a lot of the times, the things that we do are therapeutic: writing, listening to music, working out, taking a walk, just these very little things that people deem kind of meaningless in society and a waste of time are actually the ways that are proven, even scientifically, to refresh our minds, renew our minds, and just give us the time to breathe and think. Like, could you sit there for a minute straight and think about nothing? You have to ask yourself. Chances are you can't. If you even tried right now, your mind will wander to something. And when your mind does wander, what does it wander to? Does it wander back to your to do list, or is there some type of hobby or goal or just something that you haven't done in a long time that your mind is telling you, hey, I need a little more of this? I was very interested in art and poetry and music growing up and being in high school and in college. But once I became an adult out of college, even during my graduate experience, I didn't do those things anymore. And that's when my mental health issues really peaked. And I began to realize that it's because I'm not doing enough of what I love. And we take self care and we put it in this category of just like the regular routine of vacations and sleep. And it's not just that. Taking care of ourselves starts with nourishing our souls and our minds. We are human beings, but we're comprised of a soul, and our brains, like, they act on their own sometimes. Like, our thoughts, sometimes we can't control them. We think certain things, and a lot of the times we ignore our thoughts. And one of the things that I learned to do was, when my mind wanders, write down what is it that is wandering to. A lot of the times I would envision being in this beautiful scenery, just nature. It's calmness, it's stillness, the water, sunsets, animals just moving around without so much rigid structure. And I found myself going to trails to just take some time off and breathe, and I would just feel this peace that I haven't felt before. And it was because my mind was telling me, hey, I really like being here. It's not that I can be here every day of every second, but once in a while, before I get to this place where I melt down or shut down, I need to take a deep breath in fresh air. Hey, I really like to draw. Like, I would think about art, I would think about music. Like, I started composing, I started drawing and painting again, I started writing poetry again, and I just felt so relaxed and so at peace. And sometimes rest is this freedom that our brain is craving. Our soul is craving freedom. Freedom from our regular scheduled, like, work, school. If you have a family, your role in the family, your role at home, your role in your job, it's always always about our roles, but we don't think about ourselves enough. And that's really what self care means to me. What is it that makes Christella Christella? What helps Christella find freedom and peace and ease? It's really about peace. Rest starts with feeling at peace because no matter how tired you are physically, if you do not have peace in your mind, you will not be able to sleep. That's why so many people lean on sleep aids and they kind of get like stuck on the fact that I need to use something to help me sleep. But is it possible that the reason why you're not sleeping is because you're craving something other than this physical rest? You're craving a freedom, a sense of freedom that you haven't experienced in a long time, because instead of going through the motions of life, you need to just enjoy. You can take a few minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, and do something that you just enjoy doing. And it's crazy because I work with children, and a lot of the times when they're not doing like the structured work, they have free time to just do what makes them happy. And when you look at them, when you look at them doing something, so like sometimes I look at them like, why do you enjoy this? Like you're blowing bubbles, for example. But it's like for them, it's so relaxing. Like I'm blowing the bubble, it gets to fly in the air. I watch it go up, I watch it go down, it pops. It's just such like so stress relieving. Some kiddos enjoy going for a walk. It's just a freedom from the space where we're working. I get to get out of this confined space that I'm always in, and I get to enjoy and I get to walk. Others just like I can watch this video and it's music, and I love that music because it makes me feel free. I might dance, I might get up and just jump around. Like they just love the things that they do during their break time so much that they'll work so hard just to earn that break. And sometimes we don't have the financial budget to go on a vacation after vacation after vacation. Like it's nice to go on vacation, but like what about when you can't go? What can you do then to make sure that you can find that escape and that freedom from home, from your community, from your environment? Like for me, the gym is therapeutic. Anytime things get really, really challenging, or even before it gets challenging, like before the start of my day, if I know like I have a really long day, it sounds crazy, but I'm gonna go to the gym in the morning and I'm gonna get out a lot of the potential stress that I could encounter throughout the day. And by the time I get into work and I get through everything, I am already so like de-stressed, and like there's no way you can upset me if I went to the gym in the morning. I've already gotten out so much energy that I don't have energy to expend in anything negative. And that's how we take care of ourselves. That's how we prevent some of those major breakdowns and meltdowns. We make sure that we're enjoying and fulfilling ourselves. Like, if you really watch children, I learned so much from them. They don't really get upset a lot when they are enjoying themselves. You can even take something away from them, but if they've played with it enough, they're like, you know what, fine. At least I already had my time to enjoy it. And it just taught me that sometimes the reason why we're so stressed and fatigued is because we're not enjoying life. There are a lot of signs as to how to know when it's time for us to enjoy life again. And the two major ones are feeling detached from ourselves and from our environments and the people around us. We just don't feel like ourselves, and we don't feel like we fit in or belong. It's kind of like this out of body, out of mind experience that we have. And we just, from then, start to lose interest or motivation in what it is that we're doing. And if you're not interested in what you're doing, there's no point of doing it, because you won't show up as your true, authentic self. And if you don't show up as your true, authentic self, there's no point of being there, because chances are you're in that room, in that space, because people are looking for you. You are the reason why you're in that room, especially when we do pageantry. They're looking for your personality. They gave you that role or that title for a reason. Whether you are in the background helping the production or in the forefront, there's something about you that adds to the space. And if you're tired and you're not fulfilled, and I don't just mean physically tired, go take a nap, but tired mentally, drained mentally, emotionally drained, you're just not yourself, we won't find you. And a lot of the times, a lot of women, when it comes to pageantry, the reason why they don't see the results that they're looking for is because they're not themselves. I went through this myself this past spring, and for the first time ever, I placed in a pageant and I felt like myself then. And it's only after I had that big meltdown, breakdown, where I was overworking myself and I just had to stop completely and start finding the things that made me feel like me again. And that's what helped me find this positive um, and develop this positive relationship with rest, finding peace within myself. And for me, that's what rest means. That's how you really truly take care of yourself. You can follow all of the doctor's orders, you can do everything that's prescribed, but if you're not in tune and connected with yourself, and you're not doing things that you enjoy, it's kind of like just being a body, another body in the world, and your heart isn't really beating and you're not really as present as you could be. But when you're fulfilled as a human being, you show up and everybody can feel and sense your presence in the room. And there's a difference between when we can sense your presence and when we can't. And that is something that a lot of my coaches have told me. I can see the difference in you. Like, you're actually here. Like, those words stuck out to me, even at work, even at home. Like, we can actually see, like, we've been looking for you. Like, your welcome back is a statement that one of my friends told me, like, hey, welcome back. I haven't seen this girl in a long time. And that's how you know that she was somewhere in there, just sleeping, tired of the day to day. And she just wanted to be able to be herself again and express. And I know this sometimes can sound a little crazy to people, but if you really think about it, it kind of makes sense. And I hope that it does. And I hope that a lot of people taking care of themselves seriously in this specific realm, because it's more than just sleeping and breathing. It's about being in tune with yourself. Because when you're at peace with yourself, you can be at peace with anyone around you, no matter what situation comes to you. So many people have said, this is her attitude. This is her new attitude. Those are the people who haven't known me for a long time. But people who've known me since high school and middle school and in elementary school, they're like, that's just Christella. Like, that's how she is and that's who she is. And that's how I knew that that has a lot to do with self-care. Making sure that you're true to yourself and you're showing up as yourself. If you think about it, when people don't, sorry, it, but can I keep going or no?
Yes, please keep going.
Okay, when people are no longer, and when people don't take care of themselves, or when they're going through these tough challenges, you can tell that they're no longer themselves. When somebody's going through a mental, emotional, financial, whatever it is that's really stressing them out, they no longer behave like themselves. And who they are is what attracted you to them. And there's a chance that, like, you could possibly not want to be around them because they're so different, and they don't know that they're being different. They just think something's going on with them and they just have to deal with it. But sometimes it's they're missing. Their own true authentic self is missing. And that's because they haven't been fulfilled. And that's what self-care is to me. And my method is really having a list of things that make you, things that you do that you just enjoy, that help bring out the best in your personality, that make you the most peaceful, that help you have the most fun. And if you can do those things, like I have 5, if you can do those things at least once a day for every day of the week, you can double up when you need to. You'll always have peace and you'll always find rest. And that's what I have to share today.
Yes, Christella, you spoke to the people today. You spoke to me. I appreciate all of those tips because you're right. there are so many things on our to-do list that we forget to even think sometimes. We forget to relax. We don't even know how to relax. And I like the self-care tips that you mentioned because every time around this year when November comes and the daylight savings time starts, things change, and a lot of people are just not feeling like themselves anymore. So I typically do a 30-day challenge around that time. I wrote a book in 2020 called How to Find Happiness Again, and in that book I have to write down the things that make me happy. Just like you said, it's called creating your happy list. It's as simple as that. Bringing back that inner kid in you who just did things, the simple things. Right. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you mentioned that. So, Christella, I was wondering if you have a demanding job and you just feel like it's a lot of work to take time out for yourself, where do you start?
Well, the very first thing is because there's so many people involved when you do have a demanding job, to make sure that there's a plan in place. Like, there's somebody who can fill my role when I'm gone. If that means I'm taking 1 or 2 days or a whole week vacation, there's a replacement, somebody. They don't have to do everything exactly like me. None of us can really replace each other, but somebody who can fill that role at that time. And then decide what you really need. You don't sometimes we don't always need a vacation. Sometimes we spend money and we go above and beyond. Like, I used to go to the spa all the time, and then one day I was sitting at the spa and I'm like, I'm just coming here now. Like, this is like becoming part of the routine. Is this what I need today? And you have to ask yourself, like, what do I really need? And you write down the list. You prioritize. How bad do I need a break? How bad do I need a spa trip? How bad do I need a vacation? How bad do I need just to relax and breathe? How bad do I just need to go enjoy the scenery outside or do an activity with a friend, like apple picking or going to the mall just to shop? And like, how bad do I just need to like take some time to get my nails done and sit there? Like, there are different ways to become in tune with yourself. Like, what do you need? It's like developing this healthy relationship with yourself. Like, if you had a partner and they were unhappy, you would do anything to make them happy, but like, you're your first partner, you and you. Like, it starts with you. Like, you have to be your own best friend. You cannot be your own worst enemy. Like, what do I need today to get me through this day? That's the very first question you have to ask. Do I have to leave work right now, or do I need a 30-minute break, an hour break instead of 30 minutes? Because if I sit there in my car and I journal it out or get on the phone with someone, hash it out that way, or just listen to music that soothes my soul. Like, what is it that's really going to help me reach this word I love to use? Sorry, it's the old teacher in me, homeostasis. How do I get back to that balance? Because something's out of balance and I'm becoming unstable. How do I find balance again? And that's how you know which way to go. But you have to have like a list of things, because sometimes when you're going a little crazy, you don't know where to turn.
So true. You have to be your own best friend instead of your worst enemy. I love that, Christella. If Christella said something that spoke to you, comment in the chat. Let us know, because you were just throwing gems left and right. I don't know which one I want to catch. I want them all, right? So, Christella, is there a strategy that we can use to rest better?
When it comes to sleep, yes. A lot of times we can't sleep because we're so anxious about the next day, or we're so overwhelmed about what happened today. Journaling is a key that a lot of my coaches have like engraved in me. Hey, you need to journal. Whether it's a video diary, for some people, I don't want to sit there and write. Whether it's a voice memo, this is how my day went, I'm just going to let it out. I don't want to tell everybody what happened. I just want to play it back to myself. Like, this is how my day was. And listening to yourself sometimes, like, wow, I was really overreacting, or wow, I really didn't pay enough attention to this specific part of my day. And then also having things ready for the next day, your clothes, your lunch, like being organized for the next day, your to-do list, your priorities. Like it doesn't mean everything's gonna go smooth sailing, but at least you have a plan and that will keep you at peace. A lot of times we're anxious because we're afraid things are gonna go wrong. But if you prepare everything and things still go wrong, that's outside of your control. You just gotta give yourself grace in that aspect.
Yes, give yourself grace. We can't forget to do that. It's so easy to just go, go, go. Pause. One thing I had to learn was slowing down could be the fastest elevator I took to success. And like you, there was a situation that forced me to sit down. I didn't have a choice. I was put on bed rest and had to reevaluate my life. And I'm sure there are other people in the comments who can relate to this. If this is you, type in the chat. We need to make sure that it's not always team no sleep. I was a part of that team. Were you a part of that team, Christella? Any time in your life? Yes.
Yes.
And then you realize team no sleep is not the best for my future self.
No.
I'm breaking myself down every day with that mindset. So we have to change the words we tell ourselves. We have to change what we normalize. And we have to start giving ourselves credit for taking rest. Like when we cross off the items on the to-do list and highlight it in pink and feel good about that. Well, we also need to put rest on the to-do list and feel good about that. Christella, is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Yes, develop a nighttime routine. Like your body needs to learn when it's time to go to sleep. It's not always possible to go to sleep at the same time when you're an adult. It's not that easy to have a set bedtime, but at least you know, okay, like I don't know if you guys are tea drinkers, like I have my tea, I read a book, I listen to some like just instrumentals, no words, kind of lie down, relax, reflect on my day, make sure everything's ready for tomorrow, and then my body knows, okay, that is done because we love to do lists. So let's make one that works for us and that helps us rest as well. Like the things that kind of break us down can also build us up if we use it properly. So, like, that is something like a nighttime routine, like something self care oriented that just helps your brain and your body know, hey, we're winding down right now. Now it's just time to shut down and relax. We're not robots, but sometimes we think we are, but we can kind of, manipulate that aspect in like a little way. Like, okay, like I've done this, I've done that. It's like turning off the switch.
Yes.
And we're done.
Yes. Turning off the switch. That means don't bring the computer to bed.
No.
Don't bring the cell phones to bed.
No cell phones. No.
Stay away. Yes.
No scrolling before bed. You're not going to sleep if you're scrolling through. Now you're watching like 12 videos. You want to comment. You end up shopping. Like, let's be honest with what we really do.
Been there.
We bring the phone to bed. Like, if it's there, we're checking the to-do list. Like, we did all these things. We're ready for tomorrow. The music's playing, the podcast, whatever it is that helps you sleep. And then call it a day.
Yes. We're intentional about our day with our to-do list. So let's be intentional when it comes to our rest. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Christella, for all of your insights. I hope everybody is ready to rest tonight intentionally. Yes. Put down the cell phones and any other electronic devices and commit to restoring your mind and getting ready for the next day. I love that. Thank you so much, Christella. Thank you for joining us for the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit.
And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Coming up next is Anya Kodd. She is the recipient of the title Family Therapist of the Year for 2021. With a journey in family therapy that spans over 15 years, she's been honored to be spotlighted on the Forbes Next 1000 list in 2021. She's also known as the World's Most Beautiful Woman 2023. Her work has been recognized by the Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Psychology Today, and featured on channels like PBS, Fox, NBC, and ABC, emphasizing the profound importance of mental health. When we say that we are bringing you the best and greatest experts to the Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit, we mean it. Anya is here to speak about the mindset transformations that change everything. Such a powerful topic. She's going to provide us a blend of positive psychology, growth mindset, and the nuanced interpretation of success. We are so excited to bring Anya Kodd to the stage. Hi, Anya.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Anya.
Thank you. And thank you for joining this workshop. So mindset transformation that changed everything. So my name is Anya and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been traveling around the world. I appeared on a number of shows. I spoke at the conferences. I went live, online. I done it all. I publish books. So let's talk about mind, psychology, and success. So what is mind? Mind and mindset is something that is not set, it's fluid. We can change it. Let's think of the set of change, right? So what are the steps of change? So when we want to change the mind, when we want to make sure it's not set and it's fluid, we can talk about the change. So the first step of change is pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation when we think of something that can be changed, but not really, right? We say like, okay, I'm fine, I'm really good, I'm really sad where I am today, and I don't really change anything. You're really comfortable. And sometimes you're really comfortable in your dysfunction, and it can be a problem, right? So the next step in change is contemplation. Contemplation, that's when you're thinking of change and you're thinking, okay, so maybe change can be possible and maybe something that can be done to this. So this is when you're contemplating, when you're trying something, when you're setting some goals and you're thinking, okay, I really want to create that change, but nothing happens, right? You're thinking, but you don't do much, right? You sleep on it and you go like, okay, it's too much, I don't want to do anything. So the next one is action. The action step is when you think of change as, okay, so this is time for me to create a change and I'm ready to create this action. I'm ready for this and I'll go for it. And then the last one is maintain change. So we want to make sure that we maintain that action, make sure that whatever's been done, we want to make sure that it's there and we keep putting effort, we keep growing that seed, make sure that we are maintaining that positive change. Think of when you're going to the gym, right? When you want to be in a gym, you think of that change, you put the effort, you get in a great shape, and then what happens? If you don't do the maintain stage, then you will go where you were before. You will go to the point where when you just started. So you want to make sure that you put in the work into maintain the stage. So the next one is so important. We want to talk about the proverb yes and no. So just two simple words are yes and no. So what happens? Yes. What is yes? Yes, it's embracing new opportunities. Yes is when you look for opportunities. Yes is when you're not too shy and not too scared to say yes to opportunities. So we want to make sure that every single day we say yes to something, right? We want to make sure that we step outside of our comfort zone every single day. And we can start small. This is one we can think of like, okay, what are some simple things that we can say yes to? So for example, you want to go to the gym. Again, I like the gym example. So you want to go to the gym, but you're just too afraid to go by yourself. What if you say yes to go by yourself? What if you say yes to just go outside? What if you say yes to do something in the house? Just saying yes to something. That's the first step. So no is the big one, right? It's really, really hard to say no, especially if you're a people pleaser, right? So what we tend to see is we tend to be people pleasers. We a lot of the people, right? And then it's really hard to set the boundaries. And saying no, it's not saying just no, it's saying no to get yes for yourself. So when you get yes for yourself, this is when you incorporate the self-care. This is when you're saying to you. For example, people are calling to go out and do this and that, and then you're just expanding yourself. You're stretching yourself so thin. And I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to this. When you're saying like, yep, absolutely, I want to be successful, but I also want to maintain my life, my friends, my family, and you're trying to say yes, 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 but you really need to be selective to what you're saying yes to. That can be a problem because when you put in too many things on your plate, it creates a lot of anxiety. And what happens with anxiety? Anxiety can prevent you from moving forward because now you're too anxious. And sometimes what I've been seeing with some of my clients, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, what I've been hearing from people, that when you're too anxious, when you extended yourself too thin, then you will ghost people. And then when you ghost people, when you just disappear, right? You're the yes person, you're the yes man. And then from the being yes man, you just disappear, you ghost. What happens? How do other people see you? They see you as unreliable. And you don't want to be unreliable, right? You want to be consistent, you want to be persistent, and you want to be intentional with what you do. So this is when you need to pick and choose where you say yes and where you say no to. So, and again, quick exercise, what you can do, you can make a list of the things in the past week, 2 weeks, past month, what you can say yes to and what you can say no to, what you've been doing before and how you can cope ahead of time. What can you do different next month? So let's say this month, what's been happening? So what can be done different next month? Okay, let's move to the next slide. So the influence of suggestion. This is my favorite one because this is something that everyone has been exposed to. So when, for example, people saying like, oh, you're so good at this, I think you should do this. And we can relate this to something like in middle school, high school, when your peers, your teachers, your parents say like, wow, I think you should be a doctor. You're like, maybe I should be a doctor. Or you think of something else. This is when people are planting the seed. When you say like, wow, you're really artistic, maybe you should act. This is when other people are planting the seed without knowing it. So there's one study that's been done, right? And that's when you have two groups of kids. And both groups, both kids are students doing really well. They're A students. And what happened in one group, teachers continued to respond to students and giving them positive reinforcement. They were saying to them, like, hey, you're doing a good job, keep doing a great job, you're doing amazing. And the second group, teachers were saying, like, well, this is not good enough. You're not doing a good job. This is not good enough. So what happened as a result, over time, the second group, kids had that influence of suggestion and they stopped performing, which is amazing, right? They're still really good students. They were doing very well, but now all of a sudden, because they had that influence of suggestions, they're not doing as well in school, which is interesting. So what does it mean for us, adults, right? So if we hear the same message over and over and over again, hey, I don't think you can do it. I don't think you should try it. That's what we do. We don't try things. We think that we're not going to be good at it. And we just say like, okay, never mind, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be good at this. Well, the next one is the positive self-talk, right? So self-talk is very, very powerful when we use it, right? So this is one you need to make sure that you remind yourself. You don't have to do it every single day, but you need to do it from time to time. You need to remind yourself how good you are. You need to tell yourself, like, hey, who's awesome? I am awesome. Who is awesome? I am awesome. So what happens? over time you say like, well, I'm pretty awesome and I think I can do it. Versus if you're saying like, well, I don't think I'm doing too well, I don't think I'm good enough. Then as a result, you're saying like, I don't think I can do this because I'm not good enough. So the positive self-talk really helps to really move you forward. So the next one is external suggestions. So this is something that we talked about, other people are telling you something and then you internalize, right? If people tell you that maybe you're not going to be good enough at this, then over time you'll internalize and say like, probably I'm not going to be good enough at this. So this is one we need to try to block that, right? We can, take some messages in, but then we need to really block the external suggestion. We say like, sure, I appreciate your comment, but I know that I am pretty well. I know myself pretty well, and I know that I am good enough. So this is one you need to really challenge that negative talk. And when someone is saying like, I don't think you can do it, you can come up with different facts that in fact can challenge that thought. And for example, when someone says like, I don't think you can do this because it's too challenging, you say like, yes, I agree, but I have the education, I have the knowledge, I have the experience. So I'm sure I can do this. So think of the golden rule. It's 5-to-1. One negative message, 5 positive ones. So when someone gives you that negative message, you need to come up with 5 positive ones. But we want to be realistic. So we want to make sure that when you get that negative message, we want to give 1 positive one. That's a good start, right? 1 negative to 1 positive. And then if we're developing the skill, we can do 1 negative to 2 positives, and then eventually we get to 1 negative to 5 positive ones. That will definitely help us to challenge that negative thought. Let's move to the next slide. So this is my favorite, like girls room. This is something that I've been hearing a lot from people. You're like a girl, something that happens for a reason. You're so lucky. The thing is, luck, it's not that simple. I think that luck, it's opportunity needs preparation, right? You need to be prepared. For example, even for this presentation, I had to go to school for 8 years. And I know some people go to school to be doctors for 8 years. I went to school to be therapist for 8 years. So I had to go to my undergrad, and then I don't know why I did it, but I did my pre-med program degree, and then I also did my master's. So this is where I am. So, and then you have the opportunity. So you need to jump on that opportunity, and you really need to see the opportunity. So that's the really, it's a good skill, right? It's a good skill to have. So this is when we're going back to that yes and no. We want to say yes to opportunities, but we want to also make sure that we really, limit ourselves. We don't want to say yes to everything, but we really want to filter all the yeses we give. So do we say like, what is the goal? So we always want to go back to that goal. Why are we doing this? What is our final goal? We always want to have that overarching goal in the end, right? And then we want to think of the steps. So the part of preparation. So we want to be prepared for each opportunity, right? What do we do for that? Do we go to school? Do we get some education? Do we just learn about the subject? What is it that we're doing to prepare for this opportunity? And we can also create opportunities ourselves, right? It's not always that we think of like, okay, so what is this that like I'm looking for, but also like, hey, listen, what if I reach out to this person? And you would be surprised. People are very responsive. They're very responsive and they want to hear your ideas. So what you need to do, you need to make sure you tell yourself, hey, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I know what I'm saying, and let me reach out to this person. And just by networking, you can really create those opportunities. In my career, I had opportunities that I created myself. And what I do, I just come up to people and I say like, hey, let me talk to you. So by talking to them, I always ask them something. I always ask them questions. And then, I sometimes I say like, hey, what do you think about this? If they say like, yeah, wow, that sounds awesome, let's do this, I was like, awesome, let's do this. If they say like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this, that's totally fine. This is just me try to create opportunity, then work, that's totally fine, and move on, right? But you can always ask. And again, over and over in my career, I was thinking maybe, like if I'm looking description of the job, if I'm looking description of this opportunity, I don't fully fit in, but does not mean I should not take it. So this is when I'm like, well, let me just apply and see what happens. So the main thing is you need to make sure that you don't take each no as you not being good, right? You need to make sure that you don't internalize your no's. You need to remember that maybe this no means that you don't fit for this project. Maybe this is just not a good fit for you personally, or maybe this is the opportunity for you to move on to something better. Maybe something better is waiting for you, and you just don't know about it. So what I always remind myself, you need to trust the process. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it works. And then going back to the goals and step-by-step paths, you need to make sure that you have this overarching goal. You need to know what you're looking for. And sometimes you really need to try different things, and you need to know like what it is what you want to do, but you need to move towards something. If you don't know what you really moving towards, that's a problem, or you always need to ask yourself, am I working towards my goal? Is this is what I really want? And then you create that step-by-step path, right? So you need to make sure that you create the small achievable goals. So I will go back to the whole exercise thing. So for example, you can exercise every single day, but in reality, would you exercise every single day? Probably not. So you say like, okay, I want to make it realistic, and I will exercise 4 days a week. And then you do. When you exercise 4, 5, 6 days a week, even 7, right? You can say like, wow, I achieved my goal and I did even more. So if you say like, if your goal was to exercise 7 days a week, that's problematic because life happens. And then if something comes up, you get sick, you need to go something, you take care of something, and then you were able to exercise 6 days a week. What happens? In the end of the week, you say like, wow, I was planning to exercise 7. I'm available to exercise 7 days a week, but I only needed 6. I'm not good enough. I can't achieve this goal. So the motivation goes down. So when you set a smaller goal of 4 times and you're able to exercise 6, in the end of the week, what do you say to yourself? Wow, I'm doing pretty good. I was able to exercise 6 days. Who's awesome? I'm awesome. So the next one is the growth mindset. Fix over the growth mindset. So the fixed mindset is when you don't try anything new. You're not willing to change. You just want to stay there. You want to maybe even function in your dysfunction, right? So the growth mindset, that's when you step outside of your comfort zone, when you keep working on yourself, and every day you're doing something different, right? You're doing one growth step, one day at a time, one step at a time, embracing challenges and learning from failures. So one of the good examples is Thomas Edison, the person who created the light bulb. So what do we know? What did he say? He's the one who said, like, I did not fail a single time. I just found 10,000 ways how it doesn't work. So now he did not say I did fail 10,000 times. He just said that I found out how it doesn't work 10,000 times. That's it. But in the end, I succeeded because now we all have life. So strategies, how do we cultivate the growth mindset? Easier said than done, right? We want to make sure that we move ourselves forward, make sure that we're staying calm and collected, make sure that we really focus on positive. So what I usually say, my favorite one is ABC coping skills. So you really want to look into the basis, one-on-one mental health, one-on-one therapy. So A, accumulate positive emotions. So think of something small. Think of your senses. Think of what you can see, what you can hear, what you can smell, what you can touch, what you can taste, right? Every single day, we have something good happening in our life. For example, it feels so good when I take a hot shower, right? It feels so good when I feel sun on my skin. It feels so good when I put cherry chopsticks on my lips, right? Like think of those little things and make sure you remind yourself that all these things are building up into creating this happy mindset, happy life for yourself. So B is building mastery. This is one you really need to come up with the goal, come up with a hobby, something you're working towards, and something you're becoming better and better every single day. And our last one is cope ahead of time. Coping ahead of time, that means that you really need to think of people, places, situations, something that made you feel triggered, made you feel upset, made you feel anxious at any point. And instead of thinking like, well, I should have done that or I should have done that, you really need to say like, hey, I know whatever happened happened. I can't change it. I can't go back in time, but I can learn from this. And what can I do differently next time? So the whole idea of growth mindset, that's when you're learning from your experiences and you're becoming a better version of yourself. So what did we learn from this? We want to make sure that we keep moving forward. We want to make sure that before we close the door, we look inside and we want to make sure we did not miss anything. And we want to make sure that we celebrate small successes along the way. Whatever happens, you need to pause and say, wow, this is amazing. I really like that. And I'm doing a great job. Who is awesome? I'm awesome. Who is awesome? I'm awesome. Thank you. I can't hear you. The mic is off.
That was great. Thank you so much, Anya, for all of those tips. I know you have wrote many books. And so there's one book that I'm very interested in. That's Chill Mode, the Ultimate Guide to Relaxation. Would you be able to guide us through some relaxation techniques that we can do right now while we're sitting down?
Absolutely. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So let's do my favorite one, 5 senses, right? As I mentioned in my presentation, 5 senses is what you can see, hear, taste, right? Smell and touch. 5 senses. So let's try. So can you name 5 things you can see? Whatever you see right now, just name it.
Computer, water bottle, lamp, feet, pillow.
Perfect. So name 4 things you can touch, and as you touch them, describe them. For example, I can touch my desk that's nice and cool. I can touch my pants that are soft and warm. 4 things you can touch and describe them.
My burgundy hat, my Fitbit, rose gold Fitbit, my 365 spring water, and my cell phone.
Perfect. Can you name 3 things you can hear? What do you hear right now? Pause and really listen.
I hear my computer making noises in the background. I heard your voice, and I hear the wind.
Perfect. Can you name 2 things you can smell?
I smell the coconut butter that I put on my hands, and I smell the sprouted bread that I just made with avocado.
Awesome. Tastes delicious. Now, the last one, name 1 thing you can taste. So something you ate and drank right before this session.
My sprouted bread with avocado, my avocado toast.
Awesome. So that's it. So usually when you feel anxious, when you feel worried, when you feel angry, right, you can really go to that grounded technique. Five senses, five things you can see, four things you can touch, three things you can hear, two things you can smell, one thing you can taste.
That's very creative. I've never heard of that technique. Once you were telling me to describe things or let you know what I saw, it put me in a different frame of mind. I wasn't even thinking about what I was doing 20 minutes ago, right? I was just thinking about the task at hand. I felt like I was more in the moment, more present, which is typically a rare for most of us when we're always busy and on the go.
Absolutely. This is the mindfulness. This is the magic.
Yes. Now, do you have another relaxation technique that you can share with us that we can take on throughout our day? Maybe it's breathing related or something that will get us out of our anxiety or just make us rethink about things?
I'll give you two.
Okay.
So let's do the breathing technique, right? So I think it's so important for us to really calm down and breathe. And the easiest one that I usually recommend to my clients is the hand breathing. We always have hands on us, right? So you need to follow your hand. Breathe in, pause. Breathe out, pause. Breathe in, pause. Breathe out, pause. And then you follow your second hand and back and forth until you feel calm.
I feel it. That's another new one. I like it.
And I have one for anger. This is my
Ooh.
right? When you feel really, really angry and you really need to release that anger, that sensation out of your body, you can take a hand towel. Just simple hand towel, you need to wet it and twist it and put it in your freezer. Guess what happens? Next time you get angry, you take it out of your freezer and you really try to untwist it. It's not that easy. And so by trying to untwist it, you're releasing that negative tension, that anger, physically out of your body, and the coolness helps you to cool down.
Wow. So how long do I keep my towel in the refrigerator, in the freezer?
It takes about 2 hours, and
2
then
hours?
yeah.
Wow, very creative. Thank you for sharing those techniques. Anybody else, if you are going through anything and you just need to reframe your mindset, take advantage of these techniques or try them right now. Type in the comments, let us know how you are feeling after trying out those techniques. Anya, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we wrap up?
So one thing is you can dwell on the past. You can't worry about the future. You need to stay present, right? And by doing that, you need to make sure that you're not competing with anyone else. You just focus on yourself and you become a better version of yourself every single day. That's all you need to do.
Thank you for saying that because it can be hard when we are looking at social media and comparing ourselves to every other picture online. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for having me here.
That wraps up our conversation about the mindset transformations that can change everything. Wow, that was good. We just wrapped up part 2 of the Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit. Stretch. Yes. Oh, feels so good. I am so happy that you were able to spend this time with us. Make sure you follow our speakers. You can follow me at Charlene Rhinehart on Instagram. And you can also go to wealthywomendaily.substack.com to join our next challenge, qualify for prizes, or connect with us. If you did not get your copy of How to Find Happiness Again and you are ready to do a 30-day transformation for you, grab your book on Amazon And if you have any questions, type in that chat and let us know. I want to thank the Solutions Journalism Network for sponsoring our solutions reporting on the South Side of Chicago. And I want to thank Sash and Style team, Wealthy Women Daily team, and the team at Chicago Southsider for making all of this possible. Teamwork truly makes the dream work. And so I want you to get your health team on board to help you with your goals for 2023 and beyond. So type your goal in the chat. Let us know what you plan to do after attending this summit, right? Don't just think it, ink it. Hold yourself accountable. Put it down. And find those people who have similar goals so that you can all be on this journey together. Well, it is time to wrap up the summit. I am Charlene Rhinehart, and I am signing off.